Hello, everybody. Welcome. If you're here today, then you're probably here to hear me talk about the 5 signs that you may have the the superwoman type of imposter syndrome. Thank you for joining me. I am going to wait just a few seconds here to give everybody a time to pop on. So if you are here early, thank you for that. And also let me know if you can hear me, right? So, if this is your first time or you don't know me, I am Dr. Twanna Carter. And as a career coach, I work with busy women executives who are plagued by the imposter syndrome, self criticism, doubt, and anxiety. I work with them to alleviate that stress so that they can actually find peace of mind and enjoy fulfilling careers, right? And to fully focus on excelling in their careers. So if you can hear me, drop a 1 in the comments, and I am going to be sure that I can actually see your comments. And I'm just going to poke around here, which should be live on LinkedIn. So if you're seeing this on LinkedIn, welcome. If you're seeing this on Facebook, welcome to YouTube as well. Or if you're seeing it on YouTube or Twitter, welcome. And for those of you that couldn't view this live and you're looking at the replay, you too are welcome. Thank you so much for looking at the replay. So, how many people out there are familiar with this type of imposter syndrome? It's the superwoman. So, you know, I've been going over this and I've been knee deep in studying imposter syndrome. And it's like I've done quite a few of the 5. I'm just going to kind of own up to that. I really have. But anybody out there have heard of the imposter syndrome, this particular one, the superwoman? Right? I'm always reminded of the song by I think Jody Wiley, I'm Not Your Superwoman. With this imposter syndrome, we actually feel like we're superwoman because we'll kind of get into it in just a few moments here, right? And so I do want to pop over just to be sure that I am coming through live in all the places that I need to be. So, how many people are looking forward to Thanksgiving? I know here in the United States, Canada, yours is at a different time, but here in the United States, it's next week. It's next Thursday. I will still be back here Wednesday, though. I'll still be doing the live. Okay. So I think we are all a go. So without further ado, let me put my comments where I can actually see them when you are posting them. Yeah, I like to do that. So, yes, I do have notes here. I used to always announce that when I started doing Facebook Lives, my imposter syndrome, and one of my saboteurs would always say, "Oh, people are going to think you don't know what you're talking about because you're using notes." It's like, no. For me, I talk a lot. You can see that I talk a lot. But I also want to be sure that I cover everything that I need to cover with you. And so, if, someone asks a question, I like to be able to get back on task. So that's why I have notes. And also, I have social anxiety. So that is one of the things that I do to help me with that social anxiety. Yes, I have notes. I tell everybody I have notes. I'll be looking at my notes back and forth as I need to. And there you have it. So today, again, I'm talking about 5 signs that you have the superwoman type imposter syndrome. And I think I did announce myself. I'm Dr. Twanna, in case I did not. So, but we're gonna move on to today's topic at hand. Does this sound familiar? Oh, I hate going to these meetings. I feel like I'm an imposter. I don't feel like I deserve to be in the same room with these other amazing people here. I don't. If I speak up or say something, everybody's gonna know I'm a fraud. They're gonna know I don't belong here, right? Or everybody thinks I'm a fraud. If I speak up, they're just gonna point and say, "That's the imposter right there. Get her out of here," right? Everyone can have or be affected by the imposter syndrome. Anybody can, from students all the way up to CEOs, world leaders. Anybody can be affected by imposter syndrome. And here's the thing though, women and people of color are actually more susceptible to experiencing the imposter syndrome. And it all talks about, the environment and how welcome or not you may be in that environment. And part of the reaction to being in a toxic environment or an environment that is not conducive to D&I is to feel like, oh, well, I must not belong here if I feel this way, or if I think I don't fit in, or people are basically telling you you don't fit in. I remember, my first real job out of college, I was a second lieutenant in the Army. And one of my soldiers said, yeah, I don't care. Women don't belong in the military, so it doesn't matter what you do. I'm never going to believe in you. I'm never going to believe you need to be here anyway. Yeah. So, of course, I had it coming in, but that certainly did not make my imposter syndrome better. It did make it worse. So, we all like to say that imposter syndrome is just a personal problem. And we can work on ourselves, but it is also an environmental problem. Whether that environment is welcoming to you or whether it is hostile for you, can really elevate, your imposter syndrome or your feelings about it. Okay, so one such, there are 5 types of imposter syndrome, and I'm going through them each Wednesday night. So we are on number 2, right? This is the superwoman one, right? It's the superwoman. When you're just, yeah, when people look at, and you've probably seen a superwoman imposter, someone suffering from that, you kind of look over and go, because this is a superwoman that seems to be to do it all. She's got all the projects, she's got all the things going on. Everybody's calling her, she's calling people, she's trying to do everything. And if you need somebody to volunteer to do something, because most people don't want to do it, that person in the office you can always call, because no matter how full her hands are, she will try to do the extra project. And while she's looking like this, like I got this, on the inside, she's kind of like this, like, oh my God, you know, I, this is a lot. But she doesn't say stop. She keeps on doing everything all at once and then some. It's not just about being busy, but it's about feeling like you don't have a choice to take on extra projects, to take on everything that comes your way. Okay? Because you may see yourself as people's savior. I got to do this. People depend on me. But at the root of this, what is actually going on, okay, is the fact that you may feel like you don't belong, you're not good enough, right? Or that someone thinks you're a fraud, or you may feel like you're a fraud. And so the gist is, if I can do enough work, I can make people feel like I belong. Or if I do enough work, I can feel like I belong. And so you're off to the races with this. So, what are some of the signs that you probably have imposter syndrome? Well, number one, you're always comparing yourself to others, no matter how much work you do, because you can be like this with work, but you're like, oh, I'm not good enough, so let me take on some more projects. You're always comparing yourself to other women. I said this last week and I say it again, comparison is a dream killer, right? You don't have to be better than someone else. You just need to use yourself as competition and be better than you were yesterday. Okay. Number two, you think of work as your best friend. Yes. Now, yes, it's good to be, motivated and committed and dedicated to your job. But when that motivation and that commitment starts to overtake everything else, overtakes your work relationships, overtakes your personal relationships, overtakes your friends' relationships, and you end up spending all of your time either at work, concentrating on work, or at home and still working, so that you have no time for family and friends. And let's face it, family and friends are really where your happiness is. Taking time out for yourself, doing things for yourself. But when you are so piled up with work that all those things start to disappear out of your life, yes, you probably are suffering from, superwoman imposter syndrome, right? The third sign that you probably have superwoman imposter syndrome, you feel guilty. If someone says, "Oh, you just need to rest. Come on, you need to rest," and then you say, "Okay, let me rest," and you sit down for the few minutes or so, and you start to feel guilty. You start to feel like a fraud, like I have to be doing something. I'm a bad person if I don't have 50 projects running at one time, or maybe if I don't have 10 projects running at one time. And you feel that having fun or enjoying yourself, that's, a cause for you to feel guilty, because I need to work, 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 work. I got to prove to these people I belong here. I got to prove to them that they made the right decision and hired me. It's work, 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 work. Right? That is a symptom, that you probably have the Superwoman Impostor Syndrome, right? And you feel, the thing is you feel like a fraud when you try to rest, but you also feel like a fraud even when you're doing too much, because you feel like the more I do, if I could get it all done, someone will look at me and see me as valuable. They'll see me as worthy, and they'll say, yes, she's in the right place. She belongs. The fourth syndrome, fourth, I'm sorry, not syndrome, but the fourth sign that you probably have the Superwoman type imposter syndrome is you just give in to perfectionism or procrastination. Because number one, you study taking on projects. And at some point, when you start itching along to burnout, right? Everything starts to look like a mountain. And you start feeling like this, like you're being snowed under. But guess what? It doesn't stop you from taking on more projects, because you feel like I'm a fraud or I can't let people down. They depend on me. I'm a dependable person. I'm the reliable person. I have to get this done. That's again another sign, right? That you have imposter syndrome. If you are in management or you're a leader and you have problems delegating to people, yes, you got those projects, you got everything running, you have people working for you, but you feel like you still have to pile on the projects for yourself, you more than likely have the Superwoman Imposter Syndrome. You just feel like, I feel guilty. Everybody's depending on me. I have to get it all done. I have to prove I deserve to be here. I have to prove I'm good enough to be here. I have to prove when I'm sitting at that meeting that I'm equal to everybody else at the table, because otherwise you feel like, you just feel like I'm not it. Your self esteem suffers. You feel inadequate no matter how much you do. Again, signs. These are signs that you probably have the Superwoman type of imposter syndrome. And then the last one we kind of already talked about a little bit before, you do it all alone. You have staff, you have people you can delegate to, they can do this for you, but you still feel like you have to do it alone. You gotta prove your worth to people, right? So you don't ask for help. Even when you need help, you don't even ask for it, because you feel like this is how I'm proving to people that I need to be here, right? And here's the thing, if you're taking on all these projects and feeling like I gotta work to feel like I belong here, more than likely you are also a people pleaser. So that was the boat I was in for many, many years. you know and again, I told you at the top, right? The thought process is, if I can do enough work and impress everyone by doing everything, they'll know I'm not a fraud. They'll know I'm good enough to be here. They'll understand I have work, and that's not it. Because why? When you're the Superwoman, what typically happens is you're not taking breaks, you're not sleeping well, and you're a people pleaser. And when you start to feel like you're drowning with all the projects, your anxiety goes up and you are headed towards burnout. Again, that's why, understanding the imposter syndrome is so important, because your job performance tends to drop. Your anxiety level goes up, even your depression can go up, your stress levels can go up, right? And you start to feel like, I can't keep up. I can't keep up at the job. And now you're looking over at your personal life, like, I can't keep up with the relationship. I can't keep up with my friends. And the more you feel like you can do, the more you feel like an imposter. And it's just like a vicious circle going round and round. Okay. So, what are some things you can do? Of course, you can do take a break, right? Listen to your friends, because if you have friends, they probably tell you. Now, they may be a little ticked off with you working so much, but when they tell you you need to take the break. It's okay, right? It's about, if you find yourself struggling with any of these symptoms, it's a good time to take that step back at your life and do some reassessment, some evaluations and reassessment. Coaching is a great choice here, A lot of great coaches out there who can coach you on this because it is a mindset. It took me probably 2 or 3 years to get out of this mindset. I had to do it all. I couldn't ask anybody for help because it was on me. I had to prove I needed to be here. So I get that, right? But coaching is such a great choice, right? And completing a program such as my positive intelligence mental fitness coaching program is a great start. You actually build mental fitness, but you also increase your emotional intelligence, right? Which ultimately leads to increased self esteem so you don't feel like you need to perform. So Nicole says, you're right to one of good tips. Um, we all need some reminders about self care. Actually, we do. Self care is so important. And self care is not selfish. And that's a problem with imposter syndrome, because we start to believe if I do self care, then I'm being selfish. They're not the same thing, right? They're actually not the same thing. And that's also part of what you learn in the positive intelligence mental fitness program. You learn to be self aware about you. Okay. And it also quietens the self sabotaging voices in your head. We call them saboteurs in the positive intelligence mental fitness program, but you learn to quieten those. So you increase your emotional intelligence and you increase that self awareness. And also, you take a look, because I tell folks, if you're not doing self care, then you're probably engaging in self abuse. A lot of us do until we understand that. And that's one of the things that I like to coach folks on when they're going through my program. So, if you'd like to read more about my positive intelligence mental fitness coaching, I'm gonna drop a link here that you are more than welcome to check that out. Okay. And if you decide that you want to actually set up a 15-minute call with me, you can actually do that by going to my LinkedIn page, to my YouTube page, to my Facebook page, and just drop, you know, go ahead and drop Superwoman. Okay. And I'll know exactly why you are reaching out to me, because this one, like I said, some of these imposter syndromes, I have like a couple of them, but this certainly was something I struggled with for a huge part of my career, right? So I am proud to say that at any given moment when I feel like I feel like I'm getting there again, I will actually call up my clients and I would just cancel all my appointments, reschedule them, and do self care. You have to be in the position to understand that it's okay for you to do that, right? And now recently I've actually changed my schedule so that I'm off on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. That's my self care. That's when I make sure that I'm not attending, doing, right? Because once you're a people pleaser, I call myself a recovering people pleaser, right? But it's a process, and you do need that coaching and that accountability to get around it, okay, or to get over it. So, be back here next week when I am covering the third type of imposter syndrome. And next week, I'll be talking about the natural genius. So, be back here the same time next week. I'll be here talking about the natural genius imposter syndrome. And for those of you who joined me tonight, thank you again. All of you that see catch this on replay, drop replay in the comments so I'll know that you caught it on the replay. And have a great evening. Take care, everybody.